For years, we've heard about the negative impact divorce can have on children, but according to sociologist Constance Ahrens, who followed a large group of children over 20 years, most children of divorce believe they're better off today because their parents did in fact split. The findings are detailed in her latest book, We're Still Family. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us.
Good to be here.
There is such a big debate about this in the country right now, and there's a lot of information in the last year or so saying, stay together at all costs. This is very important to keep your family together. You went out and did research, talked to the children of divorce from people you'd done research on 20 years ago.
Correct. And
what is the headline that came out of this?
Well, the headline really is that divorce is never easy for any family. But it does not need to destroy children's lives, nor does it lead to family breakdown.
Some of these numbers are just amazing. Of the people that you interviewed from that were children of people who had gotten divorced, who you talked to 20 years ago, 76% said they do not wish that their parents are still together. 79% think parents' decision to divorce was a good one. I mean, these are overwhelming numbers. 79% felt the parents were better off, and 78% say either they are better off or not affected by the divorce.
Yes.
That's stunning.
Why, you know, it's strange that we even think that that's stunning. The majority of the children, of the 1 million children annually whose parents get divorced, 20 years later are doing just fine. They look like other kids on any of the dimensions. They marry at the same age, they have children at the same age. Yes, they talk about difficulties in intimacy and difficulties in commitment, but I don't know any 20-something and 30-somethings that don't.
I guess that's my question. Do we know then from this group about, because that's what you hear about the headlines about the difficulties with intimacy and commitment, is it any different than the rest of the population? I mean, significantly, do we know?
Well, they're marrying at the same time. They're staying married in about the same numbers.
Right.
So those are the kinds of information that you use to find out. But the issue is that we make big news is bad news. You know, when you have bad news, you have big news.
Right.
But good news is very hard to hear about divorce. Somehow or another, it's so threatening to the basic concept of marriage.
I want to go back and ask, because there's so much that's, I think, of so much interest in this study. You said 20% said they were devastated of the people that you talked to. What were the major contributing factors to them feeling so harmed by their parents' divorce?
For the most part, it wasn't just the divorce. It was the family they lived in prior to the divorce. That's the other thing that we seem to forget. We'll take a 12-year-old child and we'll say it's the divorce. Well, 12 years they lived in the marriage, so it's the pre-divorce family that created much of the stress. And what I found is many more of those families than the 80% that did well. Many more of those families, there was some family violence, there was more alcoholism, there were more problems, individual psychological problems that on the part of the parents.
Exacerbating factors. Of the children who did well, who came through this experience and said, you know what? Maybe there was some trauma there, but in the end, I'm glad they decided to do what they did. What did the parents do to help them do well?
That's critically important. Children, you know, can have a lot of resilience, and there are things beyond parents, but what parents can do, first and bottom line, is not to put the kids in the middle of their battles. What the kids want when they go back and forth between their parents is they want it to be civilized.
Right.
You know, in the last chapter of my book, I call it Advice from the Front Lines, because it's what these kids say that they actually want from their parents.
Because the parents are saying that I want equal custody or shared custody or this and that, and the kids say what?
The kids don't care about that. They want to see both parents. They want to not be caught in their conflicts. They want flexibility. You know, they want to be able to call mom or dad when they want to be able to call mom or dad. And
one of the other headlines in this, and you'll have to come back to talk about this more, is that these fathers after divorce are the ones who actually end up becoming better parents because they become more involved in their children's lives.
That was one of the most surprising findings, because we hear the negative, but 50% of the kids reported that they had better relationships with their dads after the divorce. So
interesting. Constance Ahrens, thank you so much for being here. Do appreciate it. To read an excerpt from We're Still Family, log on to our website at cbsnews.com.